I have been meaning to do a segment on my channel, which is like a weekly recap of everything that's been going on out here on our ranch, and also try to answer any of the questions that come across Instagram, Facebook, and our main YouTube channel, and of course this channel as well. Sometimes when you type an answer, it doesn't have maybe a certain explanation or emotion that comes with it, or a better explanation that it needs to have. I picked out 6 questions. Mark knows a few of them, but some of them are going to be a surprise. But while we're doing this Q&A, we're also going to be cleaning up his mess. We're going to kind of clean up, and I think that kind of keeps us a little bit more natural. I think it just helps answer the questions a little better when we're working. Are you ready for the first question?
Oh, fire away.
Okay, the first one, this one was when we put out our snow blowing video, and I think it was our first one because we've had storms pretty much every day this whole week. And it says, how do you decide whether to use a plow or a snow blower? And this one was asked quite frequently. So, Mark, what do you think?
Well, for me, it's just about whatever's going to get the job done the best. I guess to elaborate, the plow goes much faster, much faster. You know, you're moving along anywhere from 4, 5, 6 miles an hour up to 10 miles an hour, depending on how heavy the snow is against you. So it's just kind of depends on the situation. All year we've had relatively light storms where we're only getting, say, 4 or 5 inches at a time, maybe, that kind of thing, which is not all that typical, really, compared to the last several winters.
Yeah.
So I guess it just depends on the situation. 4 or 5 inches of snow is not so much snow to get rid of. So it's pretty easy to just buzz along quick, shoot it off the road, and be done with it. The big problem comes late in the season when that snow berm builds up and doesn't get off the road, and now you've got this berm that you've got to get the snow over. Otherwise it just builds up against, and you start closing in the road. So you go from a 16, 17 foot road. As long as you can keep getting that pile off the road, you're clear. Just keep blading it. There's somewhere to go. If you don't have room to put it, then you got to come up with something else. When the side of the road is built up and there's no room for it to go anywhere, you got to get it farther. So that's when the snowblower comes into effect, and we got to shoot it off, way off the road.
Okay, that does run into the second question, and this one is asked year after year that we snow blow, and that is wondering how serious are you going to be getting about getting a more powerful tractor, and maybe with a cab?
Boy, when we get the lotto, sure, no problem. Ultimately, that comes down to just the economics of it, I use this tractor all the time up here for feeding and cleanup and all this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And for almost everything up here, it's just the right size. It doesn't take up too much space. It's short enough, it's narrow enough, it fits into everywhere, and it's just right. It's got a really wide stance, so it sits, can handle a little bit of side hill, and it's no big deal, right? We also got this tractor for like $3,500. We got it because it had a cracked block, and I bought a used block, and I threw that, put the engine back together and put it back in and put everything back together, and off we went with it.
But the tractor you have used almost, if you were to go 365 days a year, probably 300 of those days you use this tractor.
Yeah.
And then how many days do you really need a cab for?
The only time that the cab is like, man, I really wish I had a cab, is when I'm using that snowblower.
Yeah.
And it's windy. Not every day. A lot of days it's nice. The snow is going nicely. It's not blowing back at me, and it's comfortable. It's warm. It's not like we don't get that kind of cold.
Right.
We get cold days, sure, but like we're not in the negatives consistently. We're not in major wind chill factors, nothing like that.
I just don't think that you have enough wind to worry about.
True.
Being in a cab, and you're such a warm-blooded person that you kind of enjoy being out there when it's a nice day.
And, you know, really, like, if I was going to be out there 18-hour shift trying to keep a road open, you know, stuff like that, or if I had 10 miles of road to go, it's 2.5 miles. Yeah, it's a long stretch. But worst case scenario, I go out, I'm 2.5 hours in, I'm soaking wet and I'm cold. I'll come back and warm up. I've got a clean, dry place to come back to that's warm. I can come back, warm up, change into some other gear that's dry, and go back out and hit it again. I'd love a cab tractor. And basically, there's a couple of hang-ups there. I could buy an older used tractor in, you know, the 60, 80 horsepower range or 100 horsepower, something like that, just fine. I could get one with a cab. But to get one in the price range I could justifiably afford, it's going to be a two-wheel drive tractor. And a two-wheel drive tractor up here for me, it's just completely useless. There's just too much steep, too much everything to have a two-wheel drive work. It just won't work. And there are some four-wheel drive tractors out there that are some older ones that you could probably get into. And I've worked on many of those, and I've worked on them working around those big, ugly, awkward cabs that were on those things. And I just don't want to deal with it. I'd rather keep this thing that's a good, solid thing and put on some dry, warm gear. Ultimately, I'd really like to have like an 80 horsepower tractor with a cab on it, four-wheel drive. Would love it. I would be very, very satisfied and very happy with that tractor. But the added cost of buying that kind of a machine, where am I going to justify the cost of that machine if it's just delivering a bale of hay and, you know, grading some gravel and stuff like that? It's just too expensive to justify the cost. It just doesn't justify it. But it's just too hard to offset.
Yeah.
The cost just doesn't do it.
What is your background, Mark? And how did you learn so many journeyman trades?
Okay. My background is auto mechanics or mechanicking. I worked in high school. I worked at an auto mechanic shop, and until I was, I don't know, married and expecting my first child. And then I went to work at the furniture factory making recliners. And I did that for about 4 years. During that time, I went back to school for computer programming and got a degree in computer programming. But then the factory made some changes, and they were gearing up to move to Mexico. So I left the factory and I went to work doing ag repair. That would have been like probably 3 or 4 years, probably 4 years.
Yeah.
Thereabouts. And then I went to work for the city as a mechanic, started as a mechanic in the shops. So I spent 8 years there, and I got a lot of exposure there because that city was, I think it was 18,000.
Yeah, it was pretty little.
Something like that. So
now it's
huge.
probably like 50.
No, I think they're only 20 something.
They're still 20, yeah.
In the 20s now, but.
And you built our water system
based on your
experience there, yeah.
Sure. So I had the benefit of being able to kind of like cross-train in all the other departments, even though I ran the shop.
Yeah, because you had to be on call certain times.
Yeah, we had to be on call, so then we had to go out plowing. I spent, the nights and days plowing. I remember one storm we were out there, we were running for 36 hours straight. We didn't have any kind of relief crews, so we were just running 36 hours straight. And
you guys were running on Chinese food and and sodas.
Caffeine. And if you got a little bit tired, you just go back, take a rest, close your eyes for 10 minutes, get back in the truck, and off you go. And so I spent a lot of time plowing, spent a lot of time dealing with
fixing plows.
Yeah, well, fixing everything. So that's where I got a lot of hands-on experience with electrical work, because I had to make sure all the power in the parks was up and running for all the festivals days.
That's right.
And things like that. And I had to be on staff, on site during the festivals to make sure any problems with the power related systems were working.
You lit up every single cop car.
Yeah, I
Make
wired
sure
and installed
all the
police installs.
installs and take them out.
And the city trucks and everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
the pickups and stuff. We did all the basic installs of your lighting and all that stuff. So a lot of exposure.
Well, and during this time, you also had remodeled a house.
I built a house.
And then you built a house. So you remodeled that small one, and that was kind of like your first flip, I think.
Well, I don't think we did too much remodel other than just some touch-ups, some paint and flooring and stuff. We added a room in the basement, stuff like that. But then I designed and built the house. While I was at the city, I went back to school and got my bachelor's degree in business administration focused on public administration. And then shortly after that, you bought your place in Wellsville.
Yep.
And the whole basement was gutted. So we, one summer, built the entire basement.
Yeah.
To have bedrooms for the kids. And then I went to another city as the fleet manager there, a much, much larger city. And that was 65 or 70,000 people.
Now it's
gone up substantially.
It's gone up so much.
And
It's so big.
and the area has grown enormously too. And that was a much bigger fleet too. I mean, we had like 600 units in the fleet. Then I left that and
went on your own.
Started doing construction because I had all the tools.
You were busy for many years.
Yep. I started doing some small project remodel work for people, and then started doing some small excavation work and driveway builds, driveway stuff, things
Rock
like that,
walls.
minor things. Mm-hmm. And then got doing a lot of boulder retainers for yards and stuff, and then bought a bigger excavator, started doing basements, got fully licensed, contractor licensed and everything, and just kind of went after it that way. And the whole time we were building this place on the back end too.
Yeah.
So, one other thing with that is that I tend to have this little bit of an attitude of, well, if that guy can do it, I can certainly do it.
Yeah, you do have that attitude.
So that helps too, because then you're not afraid to try,
Yeah.
I'm just not afraid to try something. I'm sure I can figure that out. That's not hard. If this, I've seen this guy do it, I'm sure I can do it too. It's not that hard. So there's that. Big, long, elaborate answer. Sorry.
Good job.
You have to cut that up.
Maybe. It might not be. Might be worth. Okay. The next this one's for me. Did you finish your degree? Yes. Yes, I did.
Yes, you did.
Yes, I did. I actually finished it before Christmas.
Yep.
I wanted it to be done when the kids came over, and I wanted to be completely just mind free, just kind of not have that obligation. I wanted to.
Yeah, I think you had everything turned in and done like the week before Christmas.
Yeah.
And you had your final, okay, everything's good. Now you just got to wait for all the paperwork of your degree and everything to come through.
Yep, and just all of that. And then we explored some options on going back for my master's.
Yep.
And we looked at a bunch of different colleges. One here in Idaho. There's a couple in Kentucky. And I ultimately decided to go with the same Western Governors. I just decided to go with them, and then I applied and got in contact with somebody. And I actually, right when the kids left after the holidays, I just dove in and applied for that program.
And you're in.
And it was in, and I was in, and I was nervous. I don't know why I was nervous. The fastest way for me to get started again was to go through
the same school you were in?
Same school. So it took about a week to put in my application, which I had to write an essay. I had to clear a background check. And of course that's easy because I don't live a life of crime. So that was it. And then, turn in my resume to make sure I had years of experience. And I'll be starting in May. So this journey should be 2.5 years if I hurry and get it done, or 3 years. And I'm hoping to get it done and be done in 2.5 years. So yeah. And I think I can. This bachelor's I got done early, and that's why I can't start until May, is because technically my semester ends in May, and I got done in December, so I have to just wait around. So we're gonna have to do this as a family, because when I have clinicals and I still have to work full time, it's gonna be, you know, everyone's gonna have to fend for themselves. We've been there and done that before.
So I guess bachelor's degree, done, knocked out of the way.
Yep.
Now jumping into master's, right?
Yeah, well.
But it's going to free up a lot of time for you, and it's going to change. It's just going to change the dynamic of how you are.
You know what? You might be able to buy that tractor after all, with the enclosed cab after
Hey,
that.
get that master's degree so you can sugar mama my life up here on the farm, right?
That's right. That's what I need to do. All right, the next question.
Okay,
Enough
next
about
question.
that. Next question. Oh, this one you have, I read some of these questions to Mark earlier, but this one is a new one.
Okay.
This one is based on the video that we put out today, which is putting the snowblower on.
Oh, yeah.
And you're
Fixing it up
a little bit. Yeah.
Okay.
This one's kind of an interesting one, and I'm curious about your answer.
Okay.
Can you put a plow on your dump truck? This was asked several times today, based on today's video. Can you put a plow on your dump
I
truck?
certainly can. Yeah, I could put one on there.
Oh,
But I think I like that truck too much to want to put a plow on it. Plows are the most abusive thing you can do to a truck of any kind. You put a plow on a pickup, beat the hell out of that truck in a year or two. Put it on a heavy truck, it'll beat the hell out of that truck. There's just so much weight. All of that force is transferred directly to the frame of the truck. It's just so abusive on the trucks.
yeah.
And I just don't want to do that to that truck. And honestly, that truck wouldn't do as well as other trucks like it. This truck doesn't have diff locks. It's only got a power divider. So, and it's got air suspension, which isn't the greatest when you get a little bit uneven. One side wants to dig, this side digs, and then you end up stuck real bad. And it's got a light front axle, so it's not going to handle the heavy weight of the plow on the front very well. It's only I think it's 11,000 pound front axle. When I was speccing trucks to have plows on them, I would spec a 14 or a 16,000 pound axle with dual steering gears and like 315s or 425s on the front, heavy, big, wide tires to handle the weight. And this truck just isn't built that way. So I could, but it would be like putting a plow on a half-ton pickup to go and plow professionally.
Yeah.
Just don't do it. It'll beat the heck out of it.
Yeah. Okay.
Not built well enough for it.
Well, there you go. Those are all the questions I have for you. I hope that it kind of helps. I think it's kind of nice to answer some of these questions with us here. And we're going to try to do this weekly. If it goes well. If it doesn't go well,
if there's enough questions to be
if there's enough questions, or if we find some questions that really deserve our attention, I think it's worthwhile to do this kind of segment on our Mount Maple Ranch with the side of ranch.
On where? Where's that again? Where can that be found?
That can be found on Mount Maple with a side of ranch. Okay, stop it. All right. We hope everybody's having a good week and you guys are staying warm.